Hey guys, Ghost Bar coming at you for another video today. Yes, I am unbelievably pale. Lack of sunbeds because they're all shut is a serious problem. I was trying to get a tan recently, but that's not going to happen. Anyway, in today's video I'm going to be talking about the craziest ever cycle I have done. It was a few years ago now, but before I get into that, I'd just like to talk about the world situation currently quickly. So it's looking that more than likely gyms are going to be shut for at least 2 months. This is just from stuff I've been reading around. There's no way really they're going to be open in less than 2 months, possibly even 3. Some people, like medical experts, are saying social distancing may have to last 6 months for it to be effective. Although China have managed to do it in 2 months, so well, fingers crossed. But that means that you're going to have to be training from home for 2 months, and 2 months if you're slacking, you could lose a lot of your gains, and you could lose or gain a lot of fat. So what I'm going to try and do to help you guys out is if you DM me on Instagram, give me your email, I've got some good body weight training stuff you can do and some things you can do with just light dumbbells and basic equipment. And just chat with you on there, and if you've got some different equipment, I might be able to whip you up a little custom plan or something if I've got time. Because I've lost so many clients, I'm happy to help you guys out with the spare time I've got. On top of that, I've got a Facebook page, Freaks of Fitness. Link will be in the description. You have to be accepted to go into the group. I've got a nice little community on there so far. It'd be good to have a few more of you guys on there, just sharing your experience of the lockdown so far, how you guys are managing to train and eat in this situation. I think it's good just to share at this time. So anyway, the craziest cycle I have ever done was my first ever Tren cycle actually, and it was sort of midway through my Tren cycle that I decided to do this stupid thing. Basically, I was running for 300 milligrams of Tren a week, and I hit a period where I hadn't bought any for a while, and I'd missed like 2 weeks of dosaging because I was waiting for my package to arrive. So what I decided to do, I don't know why I decided to do this, it was stupid, was inject 1,000 milligrams of Tren over a 8-day period, so basically a week. I was essentially front loading it, and then I just decided to do a bit extra just because there was no real reason or logic behind it. I just wanted to see what it was like to do that much in a short. I was just experimenting on myself basically. It was dumb. I don't do that sort of thing anymore. And my god, it was one hell of 2 weeks because of the S's and that. Crazy 2 weeks. So I remember it very vividly. It was Easter holidays in the UK. And I was working at the bowling alley at the time. It's a really busy time at the bowling alley. People coming in all day with their kids. It's really, really busy. I was working on the bar, mostly making coffees and soft drinks just all day long, non-stop. Normally, I would hate that. I'd be like, oh, this sucks. This is just the worst, having to work really hard. But I felt fucking amazing. Like, I've never felt that energetic, motivated, upbeat in my whole life. I felt like a machine. I could just keep going and going and going. I didn't feel tired at all. I remember at work, just being on the ball. I was really happy, really motivated. It was crazy. I had what I call Trenergy, just non-stop Trenergy. I would do my 9-hour shift, which would be on my feet, really busy. Then I would go to the gym and absolutely smash it for 2 hours and still have loads of energy left over, to the point where my sleep got affected pretty badly. So I'm going to go through some of the positives and negatives, but that was definitely a positive. The sheer amount of energy I had from it was insane. Secondly, the gains I got over a 2-week period were nuts. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got any pictures exactly of those times, but my weight went up around 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Some of that would have also been water weight, but my body weight stayed the same. My body fat even stayed the same, almost dropped. So I gained a few pounds of muscle over a 2-week period, and that is completely possible to do, especially on that big of a cycle, because I did it, and my body responds really well to these drugs as well compared to some people. So I fucking exploded. My training I was lifting heavier than I ever have before. My size just increased dramatically. My shoulders, traps and back especially, they blew up. I was training probably shoulders every 3rd day, and they just got so incredibly round and big so quickly. My traps just exploded as well. If people don't realise, it's because there's a lot of nerve endings in the traps, delts, back, so they will grow the fastest when you're taking any sort of steroid. It's why people get the roid shoulders, the rounded shoulders, the big traps, and naturally it's almost impossible to get that kind of freaky roundness. Oh God, I loved it. Honestly, it was, that side of it was amazing. My training, my gains were just ridiculous. And yeah, it was, so I only did the 1,000 milligrams a week, by the way. After that, I went back down to a normal 300 milligram a week. But I still felt the residual effects, the positive effects and the gains. I didn't lose any of my size after dropping down the dose. I kept it all until I dropped onto a cruise dose much later on. It was just phenomenal, like, it was so good. But that's the positive side of it. The Trenergy, the massive gains, and just all how good I physically felt and emotionally felt as well. The negatives, there was a lot of them. And some of them were pretty bad. So let's go. Firstly, like I've mentioned, sleeplessness. This was awful. Oh my God. I would wake up probably between 4 and 8 times a night with Tren sweats. And I was doing this in quite a warm time, so it was like May. It was quite, well, April, May, and it was quite warm already, and that just made the Tren sweats worse. And if you've never had like night sweats, essentially what they are is you'll just wake up head to foot dripping with sweat. It will have soaked through your bed sheets, soaked through your pillow. It's disgusting. And then you get out of bed, and because you're soaked, you'll suddenly feel really cold, and even I start shivering. It's nasty. And when that's happening to you like 5, 6, 7 times a night, I had to get multiple towels, flip them over, change them. It was a disaster. I mean, that's obviously a sign that something's not right with your body. And I ignored that for that week. I just dealt with it. But when I dropped down to 300 milligrams, no night sweats, not bad insomnia at all. But for that week, fuck me, like, it was weird. So, because I was getting no sleep, I was mentally deprived and I wasn't functioning in the right way sometimes mentally. So I was like just making silly mistakes sometimes. But I still had insane amounts of energy. Like, physically, I wasn't tired whatsoever. But I was kind of mentally drained from just being up all night. And it was incredibly frustrating when you're trying to sleep, just not being able to, like, no matter what you do, you cannot sleep. I tried like valerian extract and all the things that hold them, the natural herbal remedies to help you sleep. Nothing. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. So I would, honestly, the negatives of this 1,000 milligrams far outweighed the positives. So I'm going to go into a few more. But night sweats were up there with some of the worst. Next up was the Tren rage out of nowhere. Yeah, this was pretty extreme. So I'm a really chilled out person, and on all the other Tren cycles since, I've never had Tren rage, and it's because I did one simple thing differently with old Tren cycles to new. On my first one, I couldn't source K-Bagoline, so I didn't take it. This meant that my prolactin levels would spiral out of control, and it's the hormone that helps produce milk. It's like a pregnancy hormone, and in that way it makes your mood flip very easily. And obviously you're on Trens, you've got all this aggressive androgen hormones in you, and you just sometimes cannot control your temper, and you go from 0 to 100 like that. So I'll give you an example. While I was working on shift, I was wearing a brand new nice white shirt. I was making someone hot chocolate on the Costa coffee machine, and when you're making them, you have to like purge the steam arm to get like the dirt and stuff out of them before you make another drink. I purged it like and not thinking straight, and it splashed loads of chocolate sauce all over my fucking white shirt, and I just raged so hard. I smashed the machine as hard as I could, stormed off out the back, like, and it was a proper aggressive punch of it as well. Like the whole heavy machine moved. I think I scraped my knuckles up. I've never punched anything like that before in my life, so it was definitely the Tren that caused it. Like people, the customers on the bar looked almost fucking scared of me. It kind of made me realise, shit, I need to sort of get this under control, because yeah, so that happened. That was in that week. I punched a coffee machine. Another time I was with my mate doing some meal prep in my kitchen, and I was trying to find like a rolling pin or something, and it wasn't where it was supposed to be, and I instantly flipped out, like slammed the drawer, threw a chair across my kitchen table, like completely out of character for me. But you just can't control it. It's just you have this urge to throw something or smash something. Never had the urge to hurt anybody. It's more just taking your frustration out on inanimate objects immediately, and you just want to do it right then and there, you just lose all control of, you know what you're doing is stupid, but you still can't stop yourself. And yeah, it kind of scared some people around me that I knew at the time. So yeah, the aggression, especially without K-bar, was stupid. I think even with taking K-bar on that higher dose of Tren, you could flip out like that. So that was one side of it. The aggression was one side, but then also on the other side, you have this like other emotion of just randomly crying at things. So like, I'll give you an example. When you watch a sad movie, sometimes you have like, you know, they make you like a little tear up. I would fucking melt down at some of these sad films. I can't remember, there was one, oh, Finding Dory, right? Finding Dory at the end when they find their parents. I was bawling. I couldn't stop crying at it. It made me so happy sad that, and normally I'd never react like that to a movie, but it hit me hard because of all the hormones going insane in my body. So that was another side effect that was kind of crazy, was the mood swings. Next up, my blood pressure. Oh, that was bad. So my blood pressure on a regular Tren cycle, doing it properly, it stays healthy. It's like 120 to 130 over 70 to 90. Generally, that's what my blood pressure stays at. When I did this, it went up to 155, 160 over 100, which is really high. Like, that's bad. As soon as I dropped down my dose, it dropped right back down again. But for that week, my blood pressure was through the roof. I was tracking it just to be, you know, make sure it wasn't getting insanely high. So that was worrying, to be fair. But again, I was just stupid and I ignored it. I ignored all the negative health issues of this. It was dumb. It was really stupid. But it was an experiment, so there you go. Also, my breathing, oh god. So Tren reduces your lung capacity. I don't exactly know why, but it makes breathing harder, and I was getting out of breath just walking up a flight of stairs, and by out of breath I mean I was panting. So we had the cellar downstairs at work, just going up, it was literally 6 steps, just running out the back to change a keg and coming back up. I'd be out of breath for a minute, which was obviously not good. And for that week it was really bad. Like, my cardio was terrible. Trying to do high rep sets, I was getting gassed really quickly. That was probably one of the worst side effects that people immediately noticed. They were like, "You're out of breath a lot this week. Like, are you sick or something?" And it was just the Tren wrecking my cardiovascular system, basically. So that was obviously a pretty bad negative side effect. And I think there's one more of note that happened to me was, because as well I wasn't taking K-bar, prolactin causes milk production. I milked, like, literally. I had this lump of gyno just pop up out of nowhere, and I was trying to just like feeling it, and I squeezed it, and this horrible, it's not white at all, it was this horrible like yellowy liquid just seeped out of my nipple, and I was like, oh my god, this is bad. It only happened when I squeezed it, and it was like tender in both nipples. It was happening. I think I have an actual picture somewhere at the time, roughly around when I did that cycle, and you can see that I've got really puffy nipples from the gyno. Yeah, that was bad. That was a side effect that was kind of embarrassing. I didn't tell anyone about it ever. I just sort of sorted it out by taking a high dose of a dose of letrozole for a week, and that destroyed all the tissue in there afterwards. But yeah, that wasn't a fun side effect to have. One I didn't even know guys could milk like that. Like, I knew you could get gyno. I didn't even know that was possible. So that's another disgusting side effect of it. So yeah, that was my craziest thing I've ever done cycle-wise. It's not my biggest ever cycle. That was my prep cycle, which I've just done, but that was actually much more structured, had a purpose to it, and had multiple different compounds. This cycle was literally 1,000 milligrams of Tren, 200 test. It was a lot of oil. It was Tren Enfantate, by the way, it wasn't ACE. So that's why it lasted 2 weeks in my system. So I felt these effects for the whole 2 weeks. Even though I jabbed them all in the first 8 days, I was feeling this crazy like rush, and also having the negatives for 2 full weeks before it started to calm down. But yeah, it was interesting experience. I would never do it again. But if you do want to gain ridiculously quickly and you have no regard for your own health and safety, then it works. I can't lie, it works. And it's probably better than taking like tons of Anadrol and stuff, which absolutely shreds your liver. But then again, it's still not great. So don't do it. I do not recommend this to anybody, but I just thought I'd share my experience of it. The side effects are not worth the pros. And if I did this long term, I'm pretty sure I would have had a stroke or a heart attack. In fact, I would have guaranteed to have had one. Even eating really clean, the amount my blood pressure went up, God, I didn't actually get my cholesterol checked, but I'm sure that would have skyrocketed well from all the DHT from the Tren. So yeah, really, really unhealthy. But I managed to sort myself out after it, get back onto a normal, more sensible stack. But yeah, that is the craziest thing I've ever done steroid-wise, and all the side effects and positives. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing a bunch more videos over the next few weeks covering all the steroids I've taken, the effects they've had on me, how I rate them. I've got a few more on Tren covering the ins and outs of how to use it, or how I use it properly now versus how I've used it wrong in the past. There's lots to cover, so I hope you enjoy, and I will catch you next time.